Moving to Oneness. Nourishing curiosity. Embracing differences. Becoming one.
Playing with our bodies,
Yes.
sharing our wisdom with the world and feeling comfortable in it. That's what it's going to be all about today on the Moving to Oneness podcast. Hello everyone, I'm Mylene Elke, your host, and I got a fascinating woman all the way over the big Atlantic and then over the US, all the way in the Vancouver, Canada, to bring you some insight, new insights of using your body as a player where you can bounce ideas back and forth and bring out more of your creativity into the world. So everyone, welcome with me, Denise Cambiotti. Hello, Denise, how are you?
Hello, I'm so happy to be with you. And I've been listening to past podcasts, and you do have fascinating speakers, so I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, fascinating people. You know, life is too short. Anyone who brings a spark to our world, to our existence, is for me a bright light to be shared with many, many around the world. And Denise, when I met you, I felt that there is something in you talking about the spark that ignites people, also ignites the nervous system, ignites the physical, muscular, the cells really that move the muscles and the nervous. There is something, and the thoughts and the love behind it. So the intention that you bring as a beautiful light being in my eyes to this world is remarkable. And you do it so softly and quietly. And I love that, a really, really wise woman. So thank you, Denise, for taking time to be here. I would be curious. So how did it start? Because somehow you must have felt that you have an attunement for conversing really in a way with the body of others, or also your own body. When did you notice in life did that start?
What an interesting question. When I was a little girl, it was common for people to say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I grew up quite sheltered. I didn't have a model of women in the world. I really didn't. I knew they could be nurses. I knew they could be teachers. I knew that they could be librarians. And that was, and secretaries. And it turned out I've done all those roles in an interesting way in my life. But it wasn't until I walked into a chiropractor's office because of terrible neck pain that I really went, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And I was about 28 years old at the time. And so I was driven by pain. And I had come to the realization that taking pain relievers 2 or 3 times a day for a year wasn't dealing with the headache. But headaches are natural, right? Everybody gets headaches. And you treat headaches with pain reliever. But when the neck pain came, that's when I went to see the chiropractor. And his assistant did this crazy assessment with me and was writing things down on a piece of paper after she had me put my arm out in this direction and she'd push up and Sometimes my arm would unlock and she'd push down, and this one would unlock, and this one would be strong, and this one would be strong. And she did that a number of muscles from head to toe. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I'm talking in my head, come on, you can be strong. She's not pushing hard. And when the chiropractor met with me and he told me the pain in my head, my neck pain, my recurring bladder infections and constipation were all connected, I thought, he's crazy. So he looks at the sheet of paper that his assistant had given of my report, and he adjusted one area of my back. And then he muscle tested. This is what I've come to learn. I didn't know what it was then, but every muscle that was previously unlocked was now strong like bull. And I felt such empowerment. And what happens, I didn't know then that muscles are connected to the organs through the meridian pathways of the body from Eastern medicine, right? Like acupuncture meridians. Yeah. So when he chose the priority correction and adjusted my back at that level, all the energy flowed throughout my entire body instantly. And I said, this is what I want to do when I grow up. But I was 28 in Northern Canada. I was about to start a family. There was no way I was going to travel away to school, university for 8 to 12 years. There's just no way. And that's just, it sat in the background until I had another sign.
It's really fascinating to hear that as you were speaking around that age, 27, I think it was, maybe it was also 28. I have to do some calculations. I also was going to a chiropractor just because someone in my martial arts class said, oh, you can, before you get an operation, because I wanted to get a leg extension, almost an inch, I said, go to this chiropractor. And I went to him and he said, oh, Mylene, you don't really have such a leg difference. It is all in your hips. And we can do something about it and adjust it. And then there is just a 1/4 of an inch change. I said, wow. And with that, I can live. And he showed me. And that, if I think about it, was also the start in learning how I can not repair, readjust my body, but that there's so many professions. I was at that time a student of landscape architecture that do that. And then as the ball got rolling, when I moved then to Atlanta, I met Rolfa, and she was able to give more space to my muscle structures and body and change the movement and how the shoulders fell. And then that went into the whole idea of then later, what else is there? And the shamanism, where does it come from? These energies, this light, why is this possible? So it is funny, I did not know that around the same time in life, we both had an experience that supported us in becoming more of who we are. So now, what was the other experience in life later that nudged you even further?
Well, let's just say that feeling more vitality and energy, that's nice, right? Who wouldn't want that? But what was noticeable is all my headaches went away. Neck pain was gone. No more constipation. And I'm running around at my office going, you've got I was a little bit crazy because I made the connection of when your body's not functioning, how you really don't feel well, and you don't even realize your body's not functioning deep inside, because we don't have sensors inside. We only have these signs, and the recurring bladder infection's gone. I never had another one, I think, for 15 or 20 years. So these are noticeable, observable changes. And then I'm walking at the library after I moved to the Vancouver area, and I see a poster back when people could post for-profit events. Yeah. They don't allow that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Now everything's online. But it was something. I'm walking past this post and I go, learn muscle testing. And I went, what's that about? I can learn muscle testing. I don't have to be a doctor. And I ran into this woman who lives a bit of a distance away from me, literally probably a 40-minute drive. And she came to the library and put a notice in my library. So that was a minor miracle. And I entered her class and I learned the layperson approach to muscle tests and to offer corrections without doing chiropractic. Very gentle, very powerful, very, and to ask the body, what is it? Where are you out of balance? Is it nutritional? Is it emotional? Is it structural? And specifically address that. And it just changed my life completely. And I was learning it for the health of my family. My children were quite, I won't say sickly, but they were a little sensitive to every little thing. And I got introduced to that idea, and at another library. So this is a third thing. After I took my first course, I saw at a library, I'm just walking around the stacks. They had just built this beautiful building in Vancouver that resembles the Colosseum of Rome. So it was this round structure with the layers, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I just went for a tour. And again, I'm walking through the stacks, and all of a sudden my head turns and I go, how to cure your own allergies in minutes. Now, this book is out of print. It almost fell at my feet, right? It glowed. And I got that and I figured out this is the problem my kids are having. I knew I had allergies. I'd gone to a naturopath and she says, you've got allergies to 37 fruits and vegetables. And I'm going, what? How can you be allergic to stuff that's good for you? And she wanted me to go on these month-long avoidance diets, one thing at a time, and that I would visit her basically for 37 months and work through this list. And I believed I did have allergies, but that wasn't a good approach for me. So that book at that time was phenomenal. And I brought it home and I learned the technique, and it wasn't written in really easily for anybody to know how to do it. But because of the background I had, I could put enough together without taking a course. And I started checking my kids. And it turns out almost every food they were eating at 4 years old, they were reacting to. So very slowly
Yeah.
took one kind of food out of a 4-year-old's diet, replaced it with something else. And their health just improved incredibly. Their behavioral problems settled down. They weren't so hyper or moody or whatever it was. So many little signs like that. And then I went to an exchange of people who do this in the neighborhood. And a woman said, where did you learn to do that? And I said, she says, what system are you using? And I said, it's Touch for Health. And she says, well, I've learned Touch for Health, but I don't know to do what you're doing. And that was my first indication that there are some people who follow the curriculum that is taught all over the world, where when I get assessed every 3 years, I promise to teach to this curriculum. So if I have a level 1 student, they could go to Spain and take level 2. They could go to Amsterdam, take level 3, and go to Australia, take level 4 without missing a beat. So I found it very interesting. She came to take courses with my teacher, and she went down the rabbit hole, and she started inviting instructors from all over the world to come to Vancouver. She would sponsor them to come, and she would assemble classes. And she kind of twisted my arm to come into some of those classes, and I'm so grateful to her. And her name's Martha. And
thank you, Martha.
she just said, you have a gift. And I went, no, I don't. I mean, I had to work really hard, I thought, because I didn't have somebody to support me when I got stuck. And because of those experiences about taking so long between level 1 and level 2 before I could progress to the next level, because I didn't really feel a lot of strong support. Am I doing it right? That led to me doing what I do now to make it a lot easier for people to learn consistently and at their own convenience. So that's the story behind that. But it doesn't like what explains me getting out of bed every day. And my sons go, "That's a niche market, Mom. That's really hard to market. I can't help you market that. It's too much of a niche market." And I'm going, "Kid, it's not all everybody that's an influencer with 10,000 people on followers on Instagram. It's about finding the right people. And when I do that, my heart sings. And when I support people to get out of pain, whether it's structural, emotional, or chemical being nutritional, it's my purpose. It's my life path.
Hmm.
And so I need to replicate myself. And you found me.
Yeah, I believe many, many people will come to you more and more from around the world. You have something that in a way got reawakened is the wrong, but at these times there came a strong sense when you were saying in the times where you got stuck and there was no one for you. But in these moments when you got stuck, you had to rely on yourself. And you had to pull in your own wisdom and fine-tune things. And you even mentioned it at a moment then later, that you found ways to improve, I don't even want to say techniques, but a healing process to speed it up. And what I love about it, it's your speed and that you're so soft and gentle and all encompassing. So the transformation feels like an envelopment in which one can just fall back. I was lucky to have experienced you once when I was still in pain of my neck, and you helped me out in remembering what my movements are, but the movements from my being, not the movements from a week before, a year ago, right? It went to the source of my being, and that's how it felt. And from that source, I could come back and not manipulate. Yes, it's a word, but not in a way. Adjust, align, one could say, but give back the particles the right vibration, that they can go in, and in a way that they can find their place and space again and go into the dance they love to be in. That's how I see it. And then the particles become very bright, lightful. They get back their volume, right? It's not so condensed and not so dry. So it really felt, yeah, and it's like, and the cell, when that happens in the particle and in the cell, what I find so amazing, Denise, this then improves how it also looks like in the whole body. And then not just our own body, but then also in our field, in our energetical field that we have. And better even, it just goes out to other people and our environment as well. So it is, again, this play between, and we're talking today about right oneness on this Fun on podcast, from this one to many and from the many to one, and how it is a movement, a flexible movement the whole time, and can communicate back. So, and I, as a being, can improve on top of it, and others can improve on top of it. And that has been neglected, I think, by many people or even healers, to go back into that interplay and to give this assurance and the restfulness at the same time to have fun.
Well, it just warms my soul at the end of a session, especially when it's a first-time client. And their eyeballs go, what happened? And I remember my first experience. And then yesterday I had a woman and she says, I'm smiling. I'm not trying to smile, but I'm smiling. And she says, I'm feeling joy. And I had absolutely no expectation of that happening because I was working on a big structural issue after she'd had a car accident. I think it was in 1990. So that would be 32, 33 years ago. She's still walking around with pain. And she'd gone to a lot of people.
33 years. Wow.
Right. Yeah, 33 years. So she had been doing many things and she'd gotten a little relief here, a little relief there, and different things got better, but she still had this one really chronic issue. And her session was really fascinating. And I have taught a couple of therapists in the past. Somehow I attracted these really rigid university, evidence-based people. And they didn't like my language. And I teach people that are not necessarily university trained. You two ladies happen to be, the rest of the audience isn't. I've trained engineers, I've trained housewives, I've trained kinesiologists who are trained at the university who go, they should be teaching this at school. This is practical. And I've taught fitness trainers. And the thing is I don't like to put on airs. I have studied a lot in neurology, but I don't want to spend 3 days explaining one term and saying this is why this is happening and it looks like magic. It really has one foot solidly in science. So I use pretty friendly language, which, well, you touch this little reflex here and you give it a little wiggle and a jiggle and you wait until it feels groovy. These ladies are looking at me like I got horns growing out of my head. And I'm going, well, I teach primarily kinesthetic learners. So you kind of do it until it feels right. And my work is just feels groovy. And then you get some sort of sign. And they didn't like that very much. However, I absolutely refuse to make things complicated because what I teach, it is so simple. Can I tell you a little story about two new customers? Both of them had an experience with me.
I would love that because then it's a beautiful way also for the listener to see of the possibilities, because I'm a big believer, before you tell the story, Denise, of that we all healers, we all have it in us. Every single mother has it in the touch, right? We know when our hand, we put it on someone, it brings warmth or pulls something out, and it's not spoken about enough, I believe, that it is intrinsic, whatever, that it's inside of us and it wants to bubble out, and that we have the ability, whatever we put our focus on, to support someone. And I think more and more people will be interested to learn some tricks like you just showed, right? That we can implement right now and share with others that we love.
Well, I attract people who are healers already, and there are people who wish to be healers, but they don't have a system and yet. That they believe, like they've had experience like me, and also didn't realize they could learn to do this too. Because it is non-invasive. It's simple, so simple that after I had an injury last year, I have weekly coaching calls for my customers, and it was summertime, and I had one woman on the call, and I don't even know why she was showing up. She hadn't even accessed the learning platform online yet. She hadn't even, she'd opened her book and looked through it for curiosity. And I said, I need help. And I know you want to help people, and you're going to learn today, and you're going to do it over Zoom. You don't need to do it in person. And she's like, oh, I'm glad there's nobody else to see if this doesn't work. And I'm going, it's easy.
Yeah.
I taught her to open her book to a certain page and muscle test and say, I am testing on behalf of Denise, and I want to know what is the first most important muscle to help her with. So she chose a muscle. She didn't even know where in the body it is because she works in the mental health field, not the physical body field.
Mm-hmm.
And she named a muscle. I'm going, great choice. And turn to the page. So she turns to the page. Oh, at least it's in the area near your injury. And I went, yes, ma'am. And then I said, now show me how this muscle is supposed to move. And so on the one side, it moves this way very easily. And on this side, not so much. So then I said, muscle test out of the 7 different corrections that the body might want. It's like going to a buffet, and some people are vegetarian and some people are meat eaters and some people just want dessert. So muscle test which of these corrections my body would like to support that muscle. So she chose 2 corrections and taught me how to do it. And now, since then, I'm a little weird duck, because after my injury, it took a while for the doctors to realize I had a nerve injury underlying everything. And it took 5 months to take care of it. And before that, something went clunk. So this arm still doesn't work perfectly, but look at the range of motion. She got it to work perfectly. And I'm actually impressed. It wasn't doing that a couple of weeks ago. And she had my range of motion on this muscle moving. And she was like, she said, so my first customer's happy? I went, very happy, because now I can reach and do things. I was basically saying emptying the dishwasher is my physio. Like, you got to bend over, you got to pick up, you got to turn your arm, you have to lift the plate, put it on. Like, when you can do it, it's so, you don't even think about it. But when you have an injury in a body part, it's
and you also get often you don't notice because we get used to things very fast. So even a movement that is not normal, or is not in its real flow, after you do it a few times and don't have the full range of motion, then you get used to it and you forget that you don't have it.
That's actually called learned helplessness.
Oh, there's a word for it.
If you do not push through, you stop, your brain stops using that part. It's like what happens with people with stroke is often the neurology resets and you're able to use that body part, but then you thought, it's gone, I'll never be able to use it again. You don't use it. And so it's learned helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole thing about that. But the last person was in Canada, they're called physiotherapists. In the States, they're called physical therapists. And she wanted to approach it with the energy approach. She knew that energy does stuff, that you could ask the body things. So she found me. And I said, you want to learn to work with clients over Zoom? She says, yes. I says, today is your day. Pick a muscle, open the book, pick a muscle, and show me how. So the range of motion here, like this, perfect on the right arm. This one could only go here. And actually, I didn't even know that. All I knew is things were jammed up, but I never observed that before. So then she also gave me 2 corrections, and my arm came all the way up to exactly to the center range of motion beautifully. And then you should have seen her face, her eyeballs and her mouth made that perfect, oh. And I've got a screenshot of it for our private Facebook group for the other students, but I won't share it in public. But it was so perfect to rewind the video and get a screenshot of that, because she couldn't believe she did that by just telling me, rub these spots for 30 seconds and then hold these spots for a minute. And when it feels like you feel a pulse or it feels good, you can put your hands down. I'm going, okay.
You know,
and
what
that
I
was
love
it.
about
The system works. It is that simple.
Yeah, because it shows that, because you're so open. What I love it is you're so open to show yourself when you're not in optimal health, right? It's a teacher, and students are allowed to work on you and see the changes. I think that shows also a lot about your character.
Oh, I'm greedy.
Yeah,
If
and I
anybody
think
wants to work on me, they're allowed.
yeah, I think also it's I think the time is over that we have to do things alone. We are really a being of community. We've been separated. There was reasons the last 2,000 years, yeah, to be individualized. So in a way to make us weaker, I believe. And so now is the time where we also find each other. Zoom is a super, and other softwares are super examples of bringing us together from far away, right, out of different areas and cultures around the world, and to learn about and to witness change. And that provides so much strength, I think, Denise, when I can see you grow and you see at the same time me grow, or see the abilities or what is possible. And I think the more and more people experience what is possible and are becoming more excited about change, possibility, I can try out, and I may fail, but really there's never failing, because otherwise we never would do something that wouldn't interest us or bring us forward to where we are heading. Yeah. And so that's why I like that you give them the opportunity to work on you as well, and sharing their times. I also need help. This vulnerability that shows, I think, a lot about the way you are.
But it's I'm always about teachable moments in class. Somebody arrives and let's say I remember when we used to teach in person, and somebody arrived and I realized she went completely out of it. She was not feeling very well. And I went, okay, we're just going to teach the emotional stress release technique right now because but would anybody like to help her stay in tune and in step with the rest of the class? And everybody's going, of course. So when a teachable moment appears, I like to be flexible enough with my experience to say, so what if we move things out of order a little bit and take care of this now? I like to say it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery. You can't hurt anybody doing this work. And one of the things that people gets their eyebrows completely in a knot is when I say it's like a box of crayons. Is there a wrong way to use a box of crayons?
No.
Mother might not like you drawing on the wall, but generally speaking, does the sky have to be blue? Does the flower have to be red? Absolutely not. Do you have to draw inside the lines? No. I was at an art gallery in California on my way to a conference several years ago. And there was a guy that had the black underneath, and then he painted over the lines. And it was absolutely the most incredible painting ever. It really represented what I'm about. You don't have to draw in the lines to make something beautiful.
Oh, that's so important, because we're so unique, all of us. Different, yes, and similar at the same time. But we have to explore who we are and what talents we have, and who is to give us certain ways to do things, right? It's maybe sometimes helpful to start with something we can replicate, something to learn, but then to be courageous to go and try it in our way, to put our own choices, or if you would talk about food, bring our own herbs along, or flavors, to see what happens then. And then everything becomes richer. Our life becomes richer. The life with others becomes richer. And also, as when it becomes richer, we value everything that exists, because we value then also our own richness and the richness of others, of nature. And then we don't destroy so much if it's not needed. Here comes the wizard through. If you just, but we provide then and see the world in optimizing it and bringing it more light and shining and grow faster and more beautiful. That then.
I know that each one of us has an aspect inside of ourselves that is a healer. In other words, how could your body heal a cut, a broken bone? Like, how does that happen? So we all have different aspects. And at different times in our life, there's an aspect that's stronger or more wants to be more dominant. And it could be the organizer, the leader, the parent, there are all these roles basically. But inside each of us, there is a healer, whether you know it or not. And some of us, it's our true essence and path to add some of that to support the people in your lives, even if you don't do it professionally. As I did it for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I started working with clients. One of my very first, when I recently moved here, I didn't have a network of friends. And I took my kids to the elementary school, and one day Chris wasn't there. I'm going, what's going on with Chris? And she says, oh, didn't you hear she had emergency bowel resectioning? She's in the hospital. She's a sick puppy. And I went to visit her and I said, hey, I've missed you the last couple of days at school. And I says, when you get out, I've just learned this new healing modality, and I don't know if I could help you, but I would love to offer some support. And she was so weak. She had to have a friend drive her and hold her arm as she walked from the car to get to my kitchen. She sat down, and she was too weak to muscle test. And in the Touch for Health system, you can work with a surrogate. And basically, it's like, when you surrogate for a pregnancy, you have somebody who carries the baby for you. In muscle testing, you can just have your hand on the person, and you test the healthy, strong person. The electricity flows from one body to the next. They take their hand off. I test this muscle, it locks. They put their hand on, the muscle unlocks. It's crazy. It is based on electrical. My mother always told me, don't put the butter knife in the electrical socket, you'll get a shock. And if you see somebody doing that and you go pull on them, you'll get the shock. And I went, weird random fact. Thanks, Mom, for teaching me that. And long after she passed away, we were having a sibling dinner. And I went, so why did Mom tell me that? And my one brother said, that's because of me. He says, why would you put butter knives in the electrical socket? He says, I like the tinkle. But it drove my mom crazy. So she taught me, you don't pull them off you don't try to pull the knife away. You don't try to pull them away with the knife. You go, and at that time we had the fuses. You have to unscrew the fuse. Now it's a circuit breaker.
Yeah.
You trip the circuit breaker, and then that stops the electricity, and then you can pick them up without getting the shock. So funny, weird little things happen in my life like that. So we're working with the surrogate for Chris. And I thought I was a failure because I could only find one muscle that would not function. It was nobody home. The muscle was like a piece of limp spaghetti. And we corrected it. And then I went through and I checked all the other muscles, and they all were checking in. I'm good. And I thought, I must be doing something wrong. She just came out of hospital from a bowel resectioning, surgery. I had the belief that she'd be way out of whack and I could maybe adjust a whole lot of things to help her. And I only found one thing, and I thought I had done wrong. She left, and I'm going, I'm so sorry to get you all the way over here just to fix one thing. I'm so sorry. I know it took you a lot of energy to get here. I am so sorry. And she looked at me and she says, well, that was interesting. And 2 days later, she comes pounding up at the playground after she dropped her kid off at the other door down there. And she says, Mrs. Cambiotti, what did you do to me? And I'm going, oh, what did I do wrong? I really felt, I was so insecure. I felt, what did I do wrong? She says, I don't know what you did. And I says, I turned on your spleen meridian. It's for your immune system. I don't know. It was the latissimus dorsi muscle that we worked on. And it talks to the spleen. And she says, I don't know what you did. She says, but she says, I went home, I had a nap, I got up, went to sleep. The next day I got up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went through the whole day. I didn't need to sleep. I just rested on the couch when the kids came home to get ready for their activity and go off with dad and whatever. She says, and I went to bed at 10 o'clock at night. And I went, yeah. She says, you don't understand. It was like a normal day. And I'm going, yeah. She says, well, until I saw you, I was sleeping 16 hours a day. And the very next day, I'm not. She says, and the hours I was awake, I was good for nothing. I was laying limp as a noodle. And so I tell the story to my students and I say, even when you think you're doing it wrong and that you haven't done much, you've done a lot.
The trust in our intuition or in our movement. So not everyone gets something said or sees. Many of us act on cognitive, or we are the direct channel. So whatever we create comes through. And you're a beautiful example of that, that whatever you think and intend just comes through, and to trust that. So a lot of us, it's important, I would say, that we believe in ourselves. And that again, go back to seeing each other, being there for each other, and your compassion for this lady, and to invite her and to say, I'm going to give you time. Come, I'll support you. This love that's behind it. So there comes so much intention, there comes so much healing through. And then whatever you do, I think every single movement, you don't have a movement that is not focused and has a determination. This is something very uniquely also about you. You just act on what needs to be done. And sometimes you're totally right. It needs only one, and then the spiral goes off. And does it work itself? And to give it time. Often I say, right, if we create something, we heal things, we set something new in motion, before that can happen, sometimes an old reality, something else has to dissolve, fall back, and that needs time before then the other it can go. We have to learn sometimes to be patient. I think if I learned something of my teachers in all these decades, it's patience, and then trust in ourselves and the hugeness in the cosmos of all.
I've had great models. My instructors have been top notch, and they modeled persistence and to do whatever you do, do it with love, because it is the love that's really doing the work. And I've seen people who don't do the modality I do perfectly, and yet they're still getting results.
So do you have a simple thing that we can give along? Now, for everyone who's just listening, maybe you have to come over to Moving to Oneness on YouTube and to see what Denise, can you give a little tip what you've noticed would be helpful to anyone? Let's say we're all sitting a lot, we're bending also our neck, we're looking at screens, or maybe you have another idea that you can give a little trinket, a little gift on to the world.
I'd be very happy. Very, very happy.
Thank you.
I have a humble little video I can give you as a link to this, so people can click on the video and just see, in addition to watching you on YouTube, you post on YouTube or your channel, wherever you are. Yeah. They could also see this. I went, it was the end of my day and I had a sore neck. And whenever I go to network events where somebody says, Denise, do one of your little magic tricks, do that neck thing again. It's very, very popular. So I share that one.
Please, that would be lovely.
Okay. Most of us do carry a lot of tension in our upper shoulders and our neck. And if you just sit comfortably and only turn your head slowly to one side or the other, it doesn't matter, and you turn to see how far can you comfortably turn and take a measurement. Where's your nose pointed towards? And then come back to the center. And did you notice any pulling while you were doing that? Any tension anywhere in your body?
I did. Yeah. In a little bit in the upper shoulder where the neck starts along the vertebrae. Yeah.
Perfect. Now look the other way and notice if you can go further or not, or the same. And do you feel tension anywhere? And it might not be just in the neck or shoulders. So
for me,
you notice it's a little bit different.
Yeah, a little. I could feel like it was going a little like this from the neck into the shoulder.
I'm going to come off my earbuds right now. What we're going to do is we're going to activate over 300 acupuncture points while we activate the neurology of our head being turned one way and then the other. And when you're activating the acupuncture points at the same time as you're activating the nervous system, the muscles, and all the little reflexes to say, when you're turned this way, your brain knows to switch off certain muscles. In case you're falling, some muscles have to relax so other muscles can get tight. Mm-hmm. It recalibrates all kinds of communication between multiple groups of muscles. And it's so simple. So what we're going to do is, don't do it now, but I'm going to model it close to the camera. You're going to start at the top of your ear and you're going to pinch at the top to pull and unroll the curled over part of your ear. And while you do that, you're also going to pull your ear away from your head. And you're going to move one thumb width or one finger width at a time all the way down the ear and get all the way down to the earlobe. And if your earrings are in the way, you take the earrings off. And then we're going to go back up and we're going to unroll, we're going to pull. And you see how pink my ear is getting?
Yes.
This is definitely feeling warm. So we're going to do that activity about 5 times. So there's a trick to this. You rub the ear, pull on the ear, the side you turn. So I'm going to turn my head to the right and do this on my right ear. You cannot see what I'm doing because my head's turned away from the screen. So would you like to follow along with me and turn your head as far as you can? That's the trick. And do your best to unroll the ear and pull the ear away. And your thumb is rubbing and pulling, and your fingers, you're literally massaging the whole outside part of your ear. And there are lots of acupuncture points there. And the acupuncture points, they connect to every organ and gland of the body. So you're doing some pretty interesting work when you're doing this. So that's probably about 3 times. We're going to do it at least one more time. As long as you do it thoroughly, you don't have to do it 5 times. And I'm going one more for luck. And take a breath. And then turn your head back to the center and take a pause. Now we're going to turn the other way. How
Red.
pink is your ear?
All pink.
Look at mine. Okay, now I'm going to turn to the left and I'm going to do the same activity with my left ear.
Okay, everyone,
so
I have my
turn your chin as far
headphone in there, but that's okay. This is live.
Yeah, so turn your head. Don't hurt yourself.
No.
And give that ear a good massage and a good pull. Now, it's also helpful to listen to sounds when you do this because you get a secondary benefit. Is auditory messages coming in are now getting filed to the right part of your brain for you to recall what you heard. So this is a really good technique for students of all ages, people who have to attend Zoom meetings for work.
Or even if we are on Zoom again, that's also, we remember what we had conversed about. Wow.
So when you finish that, you can turn and face center. Now, I invite you to turn your head again and see how far you can go and
Oh,
notice
much
if you
further.
go. I'm going much further.
Oh, both sides, extremely, even the one that was so tight. And, you know, even while I was doing the rubbing, I noticed it opened up everything under the arm. So between the arm and the breast, right? So if we sit on the computer and we have our hands in front, that
We
tightens.
pinch in here,
And
yes.
while the rubbing and pulling, that area opened up as well. Had nothing really to do also with the neck in a way, yes, but it created more openness. So I feel now, and I'm still feeling it move, the shoulders falling back, the chest can come out more forward automatically. The arms moved a little back. It's hard to say, but that shoulder, and the shoulders hang freely, right? So they move back a little more muscle tuning in a way in my bicep, yeah, genau. And yeah, and I have a bigger smile. I smile a little bit. I mean, I smile a lot, but it's a natural smile that moved into my cheeks. My cheeks popped up.
Wonderful report.
Yeah,
Dot marks.
For all the podcast listeners who can't see that, so that they know. And they had to listen through my thumbing and the so thank you everyone for being so patient and coming along.
Now,
wow, beautiful.
If you don't get as much of a relief or release as you wish, just repeat it. It takes you a minute and a half at the most.
Yeah, watching television when you're looking at the sun in the morning, or when even probably lying in bed. You can do it in many different places, right? So we're under different conditions.
Sitting at a red
and
light.
Also my neck went back, so I noticed the whole head is further back. I mean, it like nice.
It's profound because you've got 20 pounds sitting on top of your neck. And if you can adjust the tension of the muscles in front and back of your neck, your head can move when you're used to being like this or whatever it is, or look down here. It's much better. And then your whole posture is better. So it is a profound, simple little trick technique that anybody can do. And it is literally that easy, even if you're just listening on the radio or the podcast on the audio. You just turn your head and you yank on your ear for a little while. And you do your best to isolate, only move your neck and your arm that's doing. And if you cannot reach it, you can sit in a chair and have somebody else pull on your ears for you. And
it's fun to do it.
If one hand can't reach, like before this arm wasn't working that great, I couldn't even lift it to do this. You could just take your other arm, come up over your head, and if that one's very flexible, you can activate your whole ear with the other arm. Again, it's like a box of crayons. The objective is to turn your neck and activate the ear with a pull and activate all those acupressure points.
Wow, so I feel a buzzing now. So it's like you ignited something, and there's now flow of energy, or you call it electricity moving through. I'm noticing. I'm also getting now a little warmer in my upper body. I love it. And while you were speaking, I thought children will love that. That's fun. And I also know, the ear is a full replicas the wrong way, but acupuncture and acupressure points for all of our organs. And so really we're doing so much more with this one simple exercise. I remember a long time ago when I did work yoga with the Koreans and healing, they would do that and pull. So I sometimes, we do automatic things, and I invite everyone to remember in what moments you automatically maybe touch your ear and start playing with your ear. So that is also a good sign to maybe do a little bit more and utilize what Denise just taught us in unrolling. I love the word unrolling, and bringing vibration, higher vibration back to the ear, your head, your neck, your shoulders, and really then also your whole body. And on top, I love it, be more attuned or in tune, and it's also the ear, right? To really hear the audio and the sound of our environment. And then when we're in that, we become more in harmony and balance with, if it's a computer and what is in the computer and who we're talking around the world with, but also if you're outside with nature. Wow, Denise, what a beautiful gift for
You're
all
welcome.
of
And
us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one short little story to summarize why
Okay,
you might
please.
want to use this technique for another reason. I was visiting a friend and I was doing the muscle testing, muscle tuning work with her. And at the end, I kind of listened to my intuition and it says, I think we need to lock in the benefits of with this body work session, essentially is what I was doing, by doing this technique. So I invited her to turn her head, pull her ears, all this. And she had to call me back a couple of days later. And she says, do you know, the next day I went to one of those in-person network events. This was many moons ago, back when people used to do things in person. She says, I've been to this event every single month for years. I just go because I like to have breakfast and meet with people. I've never gotten a single customer before. But I went yesterday and I actually heard somebody when I says, hi, I'm a chartered accountant. And da 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 da, right? And somebody finally said to me, oh, I could use an accountant. And I heard her invitation to say, well, would you like to have a meeting with me? Here's my business card. And she says, I can't tell you how many other times in the past people would say that to me, but I never understood what they were saying. So how profound is that, that she heard an opportunity and got a new client because she was able to respond to what she was hearing.
Feeling comfortable enough comes to my mind. Feeling comfortable enough to be valued by others and really saying yes, and to also be comfortable to being seen. We spoke about that. That came up a few times during our conversation today, Denise. And so that provides safety for people, comfort, and the curiosity to move forward, to go into a relationship with someone else and to start playing and exchanging of wisdom, of work, of whatever that comes. Ooh, what
It's the
beautiful.
possibilities are endless when
Yeah.
you are more in tune with what you're noticing.
Wonderful. Magical, magical, magical. So in tune with being one and all of your facets, right? But also being in tune with everything else that exists. So you moved all of us into oneness. What a beautiful end. But before, I would love for you to share how people can get in touch with you. I'll have everything in the show notes, but do voice it once for us now that we listen so much better.
Thanks for the invitation. You can always email me at denise@muscletuners.fit. And Denise is DENISE at, and the word muscle, MUSCLE, tuners with an S on the end. So TUNERS.fit. The first three letters of the word fitness. And I'm on LinkedIn. If you search around, there's a couple Denise Cambiottis on Facebook, but you'll see my smiling face. And yeah, website is muscletuners.fit. And I invite people to go take a look for, I have 6 free tips that anybody can use. Just as a little quick 3-minute video, I learn a tip.
Fascinating. Thank you very much, and for this beautiful time, a gift that we were spending together here on the show, and every one of you. The muscle tuners fits really, because to be fit, our muscles go also into optimal vibration, and you are then in tune with yourself and everything existing. This becomes more and more important this year and for the future, because of many of you who are listening, you are forerunners for many to follow, and are here to heal the world so we can step into being more of who we are. So become fit, take the time for yourself to feel yourself again fully, right? And then come back and share it with the world, or Denise or me, and let us know what it brought for you, and the best of luck. Denise, thank you very much. The best to you. You're fantastic. Big fan of you. And I'll see you again. Everyone, I'm Mylene Elke, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Be well.